week exposed Mama D, the next destroyed Scrappy. Now Britney's final file could take down the whole show. When the truth hits, no one will survive the reunion.
So Britney, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a realtor. Been in real estate for 6 years.
I'm gonna let this realtor story slide tonight, girl. But that white cape won't cover the true Miss Britney, girl.
She got less kids than me. I haven't met her kids yet. You know, this was like
Just the first.
No one will survive the reunion. It had been only a few quiet days since Britney had signed the divorce papers and slid them across that clerk's desk with no cameras watching, no fake smile on her face, no hashtags to sell a version of herself that no longer existed. But quiet was never the end in this world. Not when there were still wounds open, not when there were still truths left unspoken. Outside, the blogs had slowed down on her name for the first time in weeks, shifting focus to the next small scandal. And fans began to think maybe this chapter was closing. But inside her apartment, behind a locked door, Britney sat at her kitchen table with her laptop open, a flash drive plugged in, and a look in her eyes that wasn't sadness anymore. It was calculation. She had been keeping things she was never supposed to have, recordings from late nights in hotel hallways, screenshots from private group chats between cast members and producers, contract drafts with notes in the margins that hinted at fake storylines, and a folder of voice notes labeled only as insurance. This wasn't random. It was everything she had collected in the months she was with Scrappy. Every time she was in the room when Mama D said something she shouldn't, every time a producer slipped and admitted a plot point was scripted, every time VH1 made a promise they later denied. She hadn't wanted to use it back then. Back then, she thought she was building a life, not a case, but now she knew better. The first file she opened was an audio clip from Mama D's own mouth, recorded in her living room one night after too many glasses of wine. In it, Mama D was laughing with another woman about how she once paid a former cast member to come for someone during the reunion just to keep the ratings up. Britney listened to it twice, then sent it to a contact at a small gossip blog, making sure it was sent from an anonymous account. She didn't even include her name. She didn't have to. Within hours, the clip was online with a caption that read, "When reality isn't real, people in the comments argued whether it was real or fake, but most knew that voice too well." The post got picked up by bigger pages, and by the end of the night, the clip was everywhere. Mama D didn't address it directly, but she posted a photo of herself in church the next morning with the caption, "God knows the truth," which only made people more suspicious. Britney sat back in her chair, sipping coffee as the chaos unfolded. Knowing this was only the first strike, the next file was riskier. It was a phone call between Scrappy and a close friend, recorded when she was in the room and he didn't realize her phone had been set to capture audio. In it, he was talking about another relationship, one the public didn't know about, saying that if certain pictures ever came out, they could just spin it into a fake storyline about a music video love interest. He even mentioned VH1 by name, confident they'd protect him if it meant better episodes. Britney hesitated, fingers hovering over the send button. This one would hit harder, and it would hit him directly, but she sent it anyway, again through her anonymous contact. By the next evening, the audio was all over the gossip world, and the hashtags #scripted Scrappy and #plot over love were trending. Fans were angry, not just at him, but at the idea that so much of what they watched might be fake. Some said Britney was the one leaking it, some blamed a jealous ex of his, but no one knew for sure. Scrappy didn't post anything, but insiders said he canceled a club appearance last minute and had been calling his lawyers. The producers at VH1 were in full panic mode now. They started calling everyone, demanding phones be checked, NDAs be reviewed, and reminding the cast about breach of contract penalties. But the leaks kept coming, a text thread between Mama D and a producer planning out what she would say during a scene to make Britney look like a gold digger. A short video of Imani being asked by a crew member to act a little colder toward Britney for better reaction shots. Every leak chipped away at the image the network had built, and every leak made Britney feel like she was back in control. But with every drop, the danger grew. She started getting blocked numbers calling her a night Once she came home and found her front door slightly open even though she knew she had locked it. Nothing was missing, but her laptop had been moved. She didn't tell anyone. Instead, she backed up all her files to a hidden hard drive and kept going. One night, she met quietly with Tasha K in a parking garage, sliding a manila envelope into the trunk of her car. Tasha didn't ask where it came from. She just smiled and said, "This will keep me busy." That's when Britney realized the war she was starting wasn't just between her and Scrappy or her and Mama D, it was now between her and the entire machine. The blogs started calling it Britney's Revenge Files, and the name stuck. Even people who didn't watch the show were tuning in for each new leak. Inside VH1, producers were split. Some wanted to sue, others wanted to spin the leaks into the storyline to boost ratings. But one thing was clear, no one was safe, and then came the leak that changed everything. It wasn't about Britney at all. It was a clip from a reunion taping 2 seasons ago that never aired, showing Mama D accusing another cast member of hiding a criminal record, only for that cast member to break down and admit it was true. The reason it had been cut, the producers had been threatened with a lawsuit. That cast member's name started trending within minutes of the leak. Suddenly, people who had nothing to do with Britney's personal drama were getting dragged into her storm. Fans began to wonder if she had even more unrelated dirt, and the truth was she did not. By the end of that week, the blogs were full of theories. Some thought Britney was working with a rogue producer. Others believed she had hacked into VH1's servers. A few thought Brandon was secretly helping her to get back at her for moving on, but even he stayed quiet, maybe realizing that getting involved could turn the spotlight back on him. Scrappy was seen once leaving a lawyer's office, head down under a hoodie. Mama D started filming live videos about forgiveness and leaving the past in the past, but her voice shook more than usual, and Britney, she was sitting at home, scrolling through her files, deciding which truth to drop next, knowing the one she was saving for last would be the kind of thing that could set the reunion stage on fire before anyone even sat down. The storm Britney had started wasn't slowing down, it was gathering speed like a train with no brakes. Every time the blogs thought they'd seen the worst of it, another leak dropped. Every time the producers at VH1 thought they had figured out her pattern, she'd hit them from a different angle. The gossip world was now calling her the silent bomber because she never addressed the leaks, never claimed them, never denied them. She just let them appear, one after another, like clockwork. Behind the scenes, Scrappy was falling apart in a way the cameras hadn't caught before. His phone was blowing up with calls from other cast members, from friends, even from business partners, all asking if the newest scandal was true. He stopped answering most of them. Even Mama D was having to deal with fallout from people she'd called friends for years. One of the leaked audio files had her talking badly about someone she'd been photographed hugging only weeks earlier, and now that person was refusing to film scenes with her. But it was the next file that set the internet on fire. It wasn't just shade, it was pure chaos. A video from Britney's own phone, recorded months earlier, showing Scrappy in a hotel room with a woman who was clearly not Britney. The woman's face wasn't blurred, and within minutes of the video hitting the web, fans had tracked her down. She was a former background dancer, and her own social media was full of selfies taken in hotel rooms and nightclubs, sometimes with hints of expensive gifts in the background. The video itself wasn't explicit, but it was damning Scrappy sitting on the edge of the bed, talking about how he couldn't be public with her because the show needs me with Britney for now. That one line was enough to make every fan question every romance they'd seen on screen. VH1 executives held emergency calls, debating whether to cut Scrappy from the upcoming season entirely or try to spin the narrative into a redemption arc. Mama D tried to go on the defensive. She booked herself on a popular podcast, swearing the leaks were coming from jealous outsiders and that the family was standing strong. But the host blindsided her by playing one of the leaked audios live on air, a conversation between her and a producer planning to push Britney's buttons during filming so she'd get emotional on camera. The moment was awkward, her smile faltered, and the clip went viral before she even left the studio. Britney, watching from her living room, smiled for the first time in days. this was working, then came the file she'd been saving, the one she knew could blow everything up. It wasn't about Scrappy or Mama D alone. It was about VH1 itself. In the clip, a high-level producer was caught on a hot mic talking to another staff member. They were discussing how they had encouraged certain cast members to fake financial struggles for storylines, how they offered bonuses for on-camera arguments, and how they'd edited scenes to make breakups look real when they were staged. One line stood out: "It's reality TV. The only thing real is the contract." When this leak dropped, it didn't just hit the blogs, it hit mainstream news sites. Entertainment reporters started asking questions about the ethics of reality TV, and old cast members from different shows began speaking out about their own experiences. The reunion taping was now the most anticipated event of the year. VH1 security was doubled, and DAs were updated, and every cast member was warned about bringing phones onto the set. But Britney wasn't afraid. She walked in wearing a red dress that looked like a warning sign, her hair pulled back, her eyes calm. Across the stage, Scrappy sat stiff in his chair, Mama D in the seat beside him, lips pressed tight. The host tried to start light, asking questions about relationships and moving forward, but the tension was thick. It didn't take long before the leaks came up. Britney didn't confirm or deny anything, but she smiled in a way that made it clear she didn't regret a single drop. Mama D accused her of trying to destroy a family, and Britney calmly replied, "I didn't destroy it. I just stopped hiding it." The audience gasped, and the host's eyes widened, sensing this was the moment. Then, in a move no one saw coming, Tasha K walked onto the stage holding a tablet. The producers hadn't booked her, but she had shown up anyway, claiming she had the final piece. Security moved toward her, but the host allowed it, knowing the ratings would skyrocket. Tasha played a clip right there on the big screen, a compilation of unseen footage from the season, including behind-the-scenes moments where producers were feeding lines to the cast, setting up fake chance encounters, and even telling Imani to pretend she's more upset about Britney than she really was. The room exploded. Cast members were yelling, some defending the process, others furious they'd been manipulated. Scrappy sat silent, his hands clasped, staring straight ahead. When the shouting died down, he finally spoke. "This isn't about TV anymore. This is about trust, and there ain't none left in this room." Britney looked at him, almost softening, but then turned her gaze back to Mama D. "Trust goes both ways," she said, and the crowd erupted again. After the taping, the fallout was immediate. Hashtags about canceling VH1 reality shows trended for days. Advertisers pulled out, legal teams started circling, and in the middle of it all, Britney disappeared from the public eye, not running, but walking away on her own terms. She had burned the bridge, but she had also built her own island, away from the cameras, away from the lies. Whether people saw her as a villain or a hero didn't matter anymore. She had told her truth, one leak at a time, and left the rest for the world to decide.